Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to crumble!
I'm Joshua Kemble, and welcome to Joshua Kemble's Livestream. I've been a freelance illustrator and graphic designer for over 20 years. I was an art director for 9 years. And when I'm not art directing and working on illustrations and graphic designs, I'm working on comic books and graphic novels, and that's usually what I do during my streams. And while conversations can go all over the place on this stream, from spicy and entertaining to goofy and silly, one thing stays consistent throughout every stream. I'll always be working on art. So pull up a chair, get your art supplies out, and get ready for an entertaining show that'll keep you company while you work on your own personal art projects. This is Joshua Kemble's Art Stream. All right, that's right. We're live. Welcome to my live stream. This is episode 369, a very popular a very popular number on the internet. Anyhow, we are rocking some comic pages. So what we're going to do today is work on page 111 of Not Death But Love, the Strange Supernatural Story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. We're going to continue. I've got the pencils laid out and stuff like that for the page. So what I'm going to do today on this stream is finish the shading for about, 4 of 6 panels. So we're going to work on that. I'm going to also preview 9 songs. 9 songs. I've been on a roll recording music. And if you guys want to hear the music that I've already released, you can check it out at Joshua Kemble. They Don't Care About the Born on any streaming platform. Any streaming platform. Although Flatforms would be interesting. That's like a platform that's a flat file. I don't know. Anyhow, so yeah, you can check out They Don't Care About the Born. It's an album I'm really proud of. There's about 10 songs that are rock and roll. A little bit of punk rock, a little bit of indie rock, a little bit of everything. And I've recorded 9 more. I've just been on a roll where I'm doing almost a song a day, which is kind of crazy. And I need to talk to Corey today after Artcasters. Artcasters is tonight on, I believe, Scott Cirkland's channel, Cirkworks. And we're going to have Richard Fairgray on again, which is really exciting because Richard's an extremely talented cartoonist. And I think it'll be really fun, a good conversation. And I think we're going to focus on like why choose comics, because Richard has a long background of doing children's books and stuff like that. And what is it about comics? I'm suspecting that I might know some of the answers that he'll give. But what is it about comics in particular that cause him to spend all his prolific time on it? Because he's crazy prolific. So it'll be an interesting conversation. Make sure you tune into that tonight. But anyhow, so that's Artcasters. But before Artcasters, I'm going to be working on this stuff. And one of the things that I found really inspiring lately is just applying yourself every day to creative work. And if I'm like squinting or looking weird, it's because I get horrible allergies around this season. But anyhow, so one of the things that I have been finding really inspirational lately is just the fact that there is an incredible amazing thing that happens when you dedicate like 10 to 15 minutes a day on creative pursuits. I've been doing that with music, and that's helped me wind up with almost 2 albums. And like I released the other album like a week ago, and I Jake is joining us and said on the Flack form. I love it. How's it going, Jake? It's been a while. Yeah, so like so amazing things happen when you serve the muse. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like when you show up and you kind of set for. I shouldn't say you. I should say me. I've found it really beneficial when I just show up and I'm like, I'm gonna do 15 minutes a day. I'm gonna just record and kind of yes and whatever my ideas are, and and I want to kind of like at 10 songs make an album. And I've just kind of set off in the last 2 weeks to make an album about horrible workplaces. And what's kind of wild is like now we're 9 songs in. So like assuming I still show up and dedicate my 15 minutes tonight and tomorrow to like I should have an album. Luckily, I have a friend who masters them for me at no charge because he just really likes the music, which is really cool because I don't know anything about mastering. Um, but I record them all and all of that stuff, and then he'll kind of do his mastery bit after, which is great and makes them sound way better. But anyhow, point being, I should have a second album probably within a week released, which is kind of crazy. So that means like 2 albums in like a month, maybe less than a month, and all songs I'm pretty proud of. Although some of them get strange. So I'm gonna preview some of those demos while we work on comics today, so you guys can kind of hear the little thing I've been working on. Um, yeah, so basically let's get into it. Let's get into drawing and working on stuff. Let's get to our daily stream. um I busted out the 338 on the last 2 songs. I've been really inspired by these like cheap Firefly guitars. Like I love them, and so I busted out the 338 over here um, for like the last 2 songs that I tracked, which I think Jim Lujan will get a kick out of. He owns one too and loves it. So, and then the Strat has just been crazy inspiring too. So, I'll probably play some of those real soon. In the meantime, let's get into working on this stuff and just kind of catching up. So I finished up page 110 the other day, and it was like so. I've been on this week. I've been on really weird hours, so I've been working, pretty consistently till about. And my wife's been on deadline too for her books, and so we both been like doing these weird kind of like nights where it's like morning time, like 4 in the morning, and we're both working on projects and stuff like that, and somehow managing to balance things and kind of keep things somewhat working. But it's like it's been a challenging sleep wise. It's been a really interesting weird weird week or two of just kind of hitting these things full bore and like doing it, with strange sleep hours and stuff like that. But that's kind of the nature of creative work, especially when you're at a freelance point. So anyhow, so I'm planning on uh so I finished up page 111 or 110, and that kind of finished up the scene. Sophie and Elizabeth, the 2 characters, were kind of like trying to do a seance in the cupboard, the kitchen cupboard, or the kitchen. I think cupboard's the right word. And they end up getting kind of caught by Wilson, like in the cupboard doing this weird business, and she doesn't quite know what's going on. So now we're back at the market in Italy, right? The Victorian Italian market, and we're going to be having a conversation with Robert, where he's going to express like a little bit of jealousy and concern for what's going on between Sophie and Elizabeth, because he senses a growing friendship. And of course, he's going to have some concerns because he's a skeptic and he's not a fan of home, right? And he knows that Sophie knows home, and also that Sophie's really into this spiritualism stuff, which he thinks is complete nonsense. And I think is starting to get this internal sense that these people might be trying to like manipulate his wife, and of course that's not going to be a great feeling. So this is like a conversation that's kind of teased into it. So they're at the market, and then they start having this dialogue, and that's kind of where we're gonna come in. And now what I'll do is I'll play you guys the new songs. They're really weird. That's the thing that's interesting about this process. I've just been allowing creativity to just guide me wherever, and I'm not really beholden to a specific genre. The only restriction I've put on myself on this is it has to be traditional, so it has to be like bass, guitar, vocals, and maybe a couple guitar tracks. I don't want to like do a million tracks of guitar on these songs. But the only other restriction I've given myself is I want these to be thematically about bad workplaces, in whatever road that takes me down. That's kind of my guiding force for this particular album. So I've ended up with some really weird songs. And let's but ones I'm happy with. Like I like them. I think they're good songs. It's interesting when you just kind of allow the direction that it's going to go whatever direction it goes. So here's one of them, and I'll play it for you. If you guys, by the way, none of these are mastered. These are all demos. If you want to hear fully mastered tracks, make sure you check out They Don't Care About the Born on iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, etc. If you enjoy them, make sure you follow Joshua Kemble right down there on Spotify. And especially if you use Spotify, and or if you use like Amazon Music or anything like that, it's available at all those places. And we're just going to listen to some tracks and work on some comics. So here is the track that I finished yesterday.
Don't know why they wanted you, but I do. You don't need anything. So call me. I do think you need to go outside before you let them take your pride. Claustrophobia in the cubicle. Do think you need to go outside before you let them take your pride. Claustrophobia in the cubicle. Step outside. We weren't meant for this life of cubicles. Step out into the night and feel the wind it blows. We weren't built speaking lies about your value. They don't know why they wanted you, but I do. You don't need anything, just you. So call me. I do think you need to go outside before you let them take your pride. Claustrophobia in the cubicle. Step outside. I do think you need to go outside before you let them take your pride. Claustrophobia in the cubicle. Step outside.
All right, sweet. So that song was about basically like, you know, being stuck in a cubicle, being kind of like not what people are built for. Jake was asking, was it a little inspired by Office Space as well? Yes, for sure, and personal experiences. You know, everybody's had those experiences, but at least in the U.S., most folks my age have had those experiences of like, you know, awful office jobs. And so anyhow, that's what that's the general inspiration. But that one was particularly about like those times where people forget their value. This happens, I think, to a lot of people at workplaces where you can kind of forget your value as a human being, you know, and get so lost in like the kind of narrative that's being spun by a workplace that you almost forget your value as a human being. And sometimes it's good to just like step outside or call a friend to remind you of your value and worth as a human being. So that's basically the gist of that song. And now we're gonna listen to the next song. I think this might be the NDA song. I can't remember. I think this is the NDA song. So this one's about how nefarious companies that aren't ethical will have you sign NDAs to kind of avoid litigation or any sort of issues with like illegal things they might have been doing in the workplace. And so that's what this song's about.
Bury it down. I think I had some harassment, human resource management. Can I file the paper, please? I'm worried about the enemies. How can I be safe from Bury it down. I think I face discrimination, worried about retaliation. Can I file a paper, please? I'm worried about the enemies. How can I be safe from?
Next, Dylan said he's watching while cleaning his room. Hi, Dylan. How's it going? Welcome. We're just listening to some tracks. I'm about one track away, and then obviously I still need masters from releasing this album. And I don't see a reason why I don't just keep putting albums out, because I've been inspired. So, okay, that was about, companies using NDAs as a nefarious means to do cover-ups of bad activities. So that's another song that I've tracked. I've been trying to just run the gamut of what would be bad in a workplace that I can write a song about, and then just because I thought, I don't know, I thought bad workplaces would be a good theme for the next one. The last album was kind of all over the place, from songs about the apocalypse and different meaning, where meaning derives from. I even did a brain in the vat experiment song that was about the ethical quandary of the brain in the vat, which is a good old ethics riddle. where is your brain, right? Where's your self located? If your brain and your body are in two separate areas, where does the self reside? So I did a song about that. I did a bunch of songs, a couple love songs, that kind of stuff. But this one, I just felt like I want to do the theme of just toxic workplaces, because I don't know. It just seemed like a neat one. Jake said copy machine combat. And then Chris said, "Oh, hey, I'm a brain in a vat. Awesome. Nice." Maybe I'll play some of the stuff off the album that was released a couple of weeks ago too for you guys. But right now we're just running through all the stuff that I've tracked for the next album that is unreleased and unmastered. So this stuff is not mastered. The stuff I'm playing right now yet. I'm guessing I'm going to probably have quite a few of these mastered by the weekend. Hopefully by this weekend, I'll have a new album finished, and then I can just get the masters done and the album art and stuff like that. So, okay, that song was about signing NDAs to avoid liability. And a lot of this stuff is just, issues with capitalism when it's abused. So here is the next song, and I can't remember what the theme is, so I'll explain it after, because I haven't titled the tracks yet. So as I'm working on an album, I just literally will just title it A through A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever, and then once I have all the tracks, then I'll name them. So anyhow, here's the third song I'm playing for you guys, and I'm not sure which one it is, but I'll talk about it after I play it.
We're on a deadline. We need you over time. We're unprepared and understaffed. This is the system by design. I know you had plans to escape for the weekend. There are profit margins, supply and demand. Supply us with your time and demand. You put us before supply. As your family, I know you had plans to escape for the weekend, but there is no escape. Yeah, there are no weekends, no weekends. We own you. Oh yeah, you're just a tool in our factory of misery. A useless fool. Don't you dare even breathe unless we tell you to. Supply and demand. Supply us with your time and demand. You put us before supply us with our factory of misery. A useless fool. Don't you dare even breathe unless we tell you to. Oh yeah, you're just a tool in our factory of misery. A useless fool. Don't you dare even breathe unless we tell you to.
All right, so that song was Supply and Demand. That's what I'm guessing I'm going to call it. And it was a play off of the term supply and demand and talking about the fact that, you know, like companies, sometimes when they hire you, feel like they own you. And so it's like the classic kind of scenario where you have like a weekend or something and it's like you are expected and you know, it is expected that you're going to basically drop everything for the company because, you know, the company's family and stuff like that. And they basically they view you as the supply and make unreasonable demands. That's the gist of that. It's a play on that again. It's, the theme of this album is horrible workplaces. I'm almost thinking about calling it. I like that. That's actually really good, Frank. I might even steal that. Frank said supply and command. That actually might be really good. But anyhow, so the thing that I might use that. That's a good title. So yeah, so like the gist of this album, I was even thinking about calling this like the worst places to work or something. You know, because workplaces and stuff have like a best places to work kind of thing. So I think I might call this album like worst places to work. But anyhow, so yeah, it's been fun to kind of, you know, like, I don't know. I feel like when you're doing art or music, you have to kind of pick, like for me, topics that are really interesting to me are things that get me intrigued, curious, admiring of beauty, or just like pissed off. And it's like I can't think of anything that people should be more pissed about than like bad workplaces, you know. And I think everyone I know has had like a horrible job at some point in their lives. And so I was like, that's a great. Ooh, by design is a good line too. And yeah, so that was also about you know, like where like a company will like cut down on staff and then suddenly they're demanding overtime and you're like, but wait, you have the resources to hire people. Like you could hire more people. Like sometimes, you know, again, I'm not saying workplaces are perfect, you know, because, you know, sometimes people are working on limited budgets and stuff, but it's funny when you know, when you hear of companies that have like incredible profit margins, and they're kind of refusing to hire staff because it's almost like by design. They almost want to keep it, you know, as hard as possible to kind of get things done. So anyhow, again, I like working, I like workplaces and stuff like that. So this is not all, you know, all related from like personal experience. It's just an interesting topic, I think, to go in music, you know. So speaking of, let's play song 4, and then I don't, again, like I haven't titled these songs yet, so I'm not. I'll be as surprised as you by kind of listening to some of these tracks. And again, they go in weird directions. Like 2 songs ago, the one I played, I was tracking vocals for it, and then my voice just had to go like monumentally higher than I was comfortable with, which is weird because I have a horrible voice. Like, I don't have a great singing voice. I can do passable singing, and so it was interesting that, again, just doing this whole yes ending thing on the music side, on the creative side, it's something I'm trying to do more and more of. Where I'm allowing the muse to kind of guide where it goes. And it's been really liberating to kind of do that. But it also sometimes takes you in really weird places where you're like, man, I did not expect to be doing like high pitched vocals. Okay. So here is, let me make sure this isn't the song I just played. This is the 4th song. I think we're on 3 songs. So this should be about right. I think this is a funk song. Yeah, this has funk in it.
Hey, I'm tired of all these sold out phonies, kissing rings, appeasing cronies, office small talk, how's the weather, when you know they don't care whether you live or die. I'm so tired. And suck up, they'll stab you in the back for money, pretend every joke is funny, with an asterisk and little words that'll get you messed up. Train sycophants, ignore the elephants in the back rooms where they train your replacements. Keep a good attitude. They're selling you. Make sure you work overtime whenever they request it of you. Make sure you understand the reason for their demand, or they will reprimand. Replace you with a sycophant. Train sycophants. Ignore the elephants in the back rooms where they're training. I'm tired of all these sold out fakes, giving all their work safe takes. Office meetings, how's the morale, when you know they don't care whether you live or die. And I am so tired of living this life, and all the people who stick around. Different way of life. You can't serve 2 masters. You're not my master. I'll get out of here faster if I move to better pasture. Not many people will stick around when they found who the elephant is. Yeah, he can't get his.
Here's the funk part. I was listening to a lot of Funkadelic, and I don't know, this just came out, so I'm not saying it's good. Alright, that's pretty good. Come on. I brought the funk, guys.
Don't compromise your good intentions. There's nothing there to fear. Don't give in to their bad inventions. And what's that you say? Not for sale now. When they give you bad pay. Not for sale now, nah. Couldn't hear you say it louder. Not for sale. Train sycophants, ignore the elephants in the back room. Yeah, I'm tired of all these sold out phonies, kissing rings, appeasing cronies, office small talk, how's the weather, when you know they don't care whether you live or die. I'm so tired of living this life. The only people who stick around have found workarounds. Clock watching lawyers and suck up. They'll stab you in the back for money. Pretend every joke is funny with an asterisk with little words that'll get you messed up.
All right, so that song was basically about like toxic workplaces kind of keeping only the sycophantic workers, like they kind of drain talent because the only people who kind of stick around in toxic workplaces are usually like lawyers. Like, and by lawyers, I don't mean like actual lawyers. I just mean like people who are going to get into technicalities and protocols and stuff like that to avoid doing work, or, you know, people who basically are just sycophants who are just kiss ups and they're just yes men. And, you know, that's one of the reasons, you know, capitalism, you know, can kind of like it's almost important in a capitalist system to have good workplaces because it keeps talent. And it keeps innovation. But if you stifle talent and innovation, what you end up with is just like a room full of sycophants and constantly training replacements for those sycophantic employees. You know, that's what that song was about. So yeah. Yeah. Roll for Tarako was saying, "Oh, rules lawyers." Exactly. Let's see here. So, what do we got here? Okay. We have a little bit of this going. We're getting some progress done, and it seems like people are having fun in the chats and working on stuff. Dylan said, "My dad went to the hospital. Oh no, due to dialysis implant. He's okay, but our dog has been so needy. He usually gets out 2 times in the morning, but now he's up to 4 times. Oh man! And also, by the way, that's rough too. Chris was saying, I want to work with elephants, not sycophants. Yeah. And that was a play on the elephant in the room, right? Where it's like anytime, you know, somebody's in an office environment, that's like the elephant in the room is that, you know, you kind of know eventually they're training your replacements constantly in bad workplaces where they don't value people. But I also liked the fact that sycophant rhymes with elephant. And actually, Jim Lujan, after I, you know, I'll share these songs with my little art casters crew, you know, on as I get them done, because we like to share our art with each other. It's like half of why a lot of the people in the art casters crew are working on these projects. Like we've talked about this, but it's like we're trying to impress each other. We're trying to, we're each other's fans, and a lot of that drives a lot of kind of, hey, check out what I'm working on, you know. But anyhow, Jim, after I sent him that song, was like, the fact that you rhymed sycophant with elephant is why we're friends. And I was like, oh. Okay, so let's play some more stuff. This is like almost done, like, which is crazy. So all I need to do is master these, and then do one more song, and then I've got a nice 10-song album to release for you guys. And there's already a 10-song album out that I just released like 2 weeks ago called "They Don't Care About the Born," which I highly recommend you guys check out on all music streaming platforms. Okay, There's also like a link in the notes and stuff to it. Okay, here's another song.
Company culture defined by the people. List your core values.
This is all about listing core values and morale.
Going well. Make a list of goals that are easily achievable. Make sure that they feel good about what they're selling you. Make sure they're forgetting how bad they're compensating you. Maybe get some donuts. Do not raise their paychecks. Fiscal responsibility. Fiscal responsibility. Just feed our nepotistic needs and hold back our resources until they bleed. Call it fiscal responsibility. It's how you sleep at night and how you feed the greed. You're a little die. Spreadsheet. Call you human capital. Keep producing junk for the landfills. Blood and sweat to grease the machine. Oh, you're a little die. Spreadsheet. Call you human capital. Keep producing junk for the landfills. Blood and sweat to grease the machine. Human capital. Human capital. Someone's made a mistake.
I actually agree with you, Dylan. I'm gonna change this a little bit just to cheat it so it looks a little better. I agree with you.
Make a list of goals that are easily achievable. Make sure that they feel good about what they're selling you. Make sure they're forgetting how bad they're compensating you. Maybe get some coffee. Do not cough out a new fee. Fiscal responsibility. Fiscal responsibility.
That looks weird.
Just feed our nepotistic needs.
Let's fix that though.
Back our resources until they bleed. Call it fiscal responsibility. It's how you sleep at night and how you feed the greed. You're a little die. Spreadsheet. Call you human capital. Keep producing junk for the landfills. Blood and sweat to grease the machine. Oh, you're a little die. Spreadsheet. Call you human capital. Keep producing junk for the landfills. Blood and sweat to grease the machine. Human capital. Human capital.
I like. um, Frank said it sounds like an album written by an edgy Dilbert. Yeah, exactly. So that song was like about basically like, you know, calling things like human capital, like you know, how, you know, companies you know, like Corey and I have talked about this term bugging us, you know, because both of us have worked in, you know, higher up positions and stuff. And there are some places where, you know, when you get behind those closed doors, like they're not referring to humans as human beings. They're talking about human capital, right? Which is like, that is the darkest side of capitalism. I think that can exist, is like stopping thinking about people as people, but just as like, almost like another asset to your business. So like just the term human capital, it's kind of disgusting that even exists. That's what that's about. It's like, it's just that's crazy that anyone would ever use that term, but people do in business. And so, that's like basically what the gist of that is about, is like, a lot of these companies will have like core values and talk about valuing human beings and stuff, but behind closed doors, they're talking about human capital, right? They're not talking about people. They're talking about capital. And again, I think that I'm at the point in my life where I think if I were working somewhere and they start talking about human capital, I think I'd be like, yeah, I'm out. Like I don't know. You need to value people as people, not as capital. So, and not just say it on your like list of core values or whatever. It should be a real consideration, I think, of anybody with a soul. Yeah, Dylan was saying it dehumanizes people and turns them into something disposable. Exactly. Yeah, and I think just dehumanizing people probably not a good thing. So anyhow, that song was about human capital and that term human capital, and also just how, again, like a lot of these places will have their list of core values and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, you're a dot on a spreadsheet. So let's see here. Let's get into the next. Frank was like, there goes my idea for Human Capital Incorporated. That's a great, like, how there's like in comics, there's like big tech or like some name, for like the villains, industry, and they're usually some nefarious whatever org or whatever it is. That would be a great one, is just Human Capital Inc. would be a great supervillains company. All right. Mook Capital. All right. So let's see. Let's get into the next one. So we've gotten 5 songs in, and these are unmastered. So they're going to sound better when they get mastered, but pretty proud of this so far. Oh, okay. Sorry. This one is about fantasizing while you're in an office environment. Like, a lot of people will have like pictures of family and stuff like that around them because it's just soul crushing being in that environment. Very office space related kind of thing. So this is about basically looking at a picture and thinking about somebody while you're at work. Dylan, thanks for the tip on that eye looking a little weird. I think it looks a lot better now. I was kind of unsure about that initially when I had drawn it, but hearing a second person say it, I was like, yep, gotta fix that. So thanks. Yeah, so that's about, you know, the idea of, yeah, just surround yourself with photographs of your family, and then meanwhile accept the corporation as your family. So yeah. Frank said, I have a lot of cake left over. I need to buy some more milk to finish it all. Oh yeah, it was Frank's birthday. Frank, how was your birthday? I hope it was a good one. It's funny, your birthday is not too far from my wife's birthday. So but I hope you enjoyed it. Also, how did the D&D session go? Did you guys do it yet? I know that Frank is rocking a D&D session, which is kind of cool. Also, I know this is weird, but while you guys are here, if you haven't yet, hit that like button. It helps me in the future on shows. Takes 2 seconds. Would be greatly appreciated, especially if you like hanging out on these during these streams. Frank said his birthday was good. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear it, man. I know that Frank was going to have a D&D session too at the library, which is kind of rad. Okay, I don't know if that's happened yet though. Okay, we've been going an hour. I'm going to play a trailer. And then we're gonna just keep on rocking in the free world. And maybe I'll play the rest of this album. I know I've been playing music for you guys a lot, but I like to share what I'm working on, and that's what I've been working on outside of just the comics and stuff. All right. Speaking of Frank Salazar, let's play Frank's Adventures at the Library, and then we'll be right back. And if you haven't yet, hit that like button. And I'm talking about you, who's just like, yeah, everybody else will do it. No, they won't. Go ahead and hit it. That's the only way this stream gets to other people, is when kind folks like you hit that like button. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and hit the bell and all that fun stuff. Okay, here it is.
Our heroic adventurers fought orcs, monsters, sorcerers, necromancers. Now they find themselves in front of a mystical library. What shall they find? It's all in the roll of the dice.
We've come this far. There's great power behind this door. I can feel it. We just have to get past it. This door is no match for my axe. I shall chop it down. You always want to use brute strength. Why don't you try knocking? We'll try it your way. You may enter. The library is open to all those who seek knowledge. Feel free to look through our tomes. Maybe you'll find the answers you seek. I sense great power here, and it's behind those shelves. Indeed, there are powerful items hidden behind these shelves, but you can only get there through the enchanted words. Do you have those words? I believe I do.
Tremble before the Cremble.
There is great power Look at that glove. Must be so powerful. That is not where I sense this power. I must get closer. I found them. I found the sacred manuscripts written by Joshua Kemble. Behold, I now possess 2 stories and Jacob's apartment. Please tell us more about 2 stories and Jacob's apartment, and who is Joshua Kemble? Xeric Award-winning cartoonist Joshua Kemble is a freelance artist, graphic designer, and author. 2 Stories is a confessional graphic memoir that grapples with questions of faith, mental illness, depravity, and ultimately redemption in a fallen world. Jacob's Apartment is a coming-of-age graphic novel in the vein of Ghost Road and Fun Home. It weaves together the threads of spiritual faith, identity, purpose, love, and loss to create an engrossing world in which waking and sleeping dreams collide. You have made your choice. The passage is now closed. Wait, can I get that glove? No. Oh. All right, let's go.
All right. I love that. And I love the tremble before the cremble. The cremble. So Jim Lujan sent me this thing. I don't know. It was like a little bit ago. I don't have it. Otherwise, I'd play it for you guys. But he made this like old timey song that just sounded like a barbershop quartet. And it was like, I'm looking for the cremble. And it was like, the whole song was about crembling. It was so good. Anyhow, I don't know. I should look into that. But it's funny because it was like old timey, and like a lot of old timey songs, like when they said cremble, they'd say cremble with the roll. It's so good. Also, I will say, I take pride in the fact that I can roll my R's. There's my wife will tease me about my horrible pronunciation whenever I say any words in Japanese. I cannot pronounce them properly. It's just the horribleness of my abilities when it comes to other languages. I can't pronounce. I have trouble enough pronouncing English. And but when it comes to like just a fire back, if she's teasing me about that, is just to be like, well, roll your R's then, because she can't roll her R's. So I'm like, well, rolling R's is not so easy for you, is it? It's one of my favorite things to do because it's like one of the few linguistic things I can do. I tried to roll an I there. Anyhow, oh nice. Frank said your R's are good. Thank you. The Kremlin is very pleased by that. For anybody who's watching who isn't part of the already existing lore, I guess I should let you in on that. So back when I was exhibiting at TCAF in Toronto, I was all excited. It was like my first time, first and last time. I haven't been back since. I'd love to go again if I can ever afford the trip again. But yeah, TCAF, big comics festival in Toronto. Very indie friendly. Graphic Mundi had a booth there and was like, hey, you should come up and sign with us. And I was like, okay, cool. And they treated me really well. It was fun to go up there and do the signing. And they set me up with a panel. And weirdly, I've done conventions for a while, but it was my first time doing like a panel discussion at a convention. I've done like lectures and taught classes and, all that other stuff, but I'd never done a panel at a convention. And I felt like, sweet, I'm doing this panel. It was great. It was on neurodiversity and mental illness in comics. And I was like, dude, that's like a double hitter of like the type of stuff that my personal comics are all about. And so it was kind of the perfect topic. I was very flattered and feeling a little good about myself and stuff like that. And then I look in the pamphlet for TCAF, and it says Joshua Kemble. And if you can see my name, it's Kemble, but they spelt it with an R, and I was like, well, I guess that's a good like reminder for my pride, like to not get too proud because they can't even spell my name. They're like, this guy Joshua Kemble is going to talk about mental illness or whatever. So I talked about that on stream after TCAF, and then it's become kind of an inside joke among people who follow the live stream that you guys are members of the Kremlin, which is the followers of Joshua Kemble. So anyhow, that's to let you in on the Kemble business. Dylan said, I can't roll my R's. As you know, I live in Arizona. There's Spanish influence in some of our words. If you live in California, you understand. And he said, I took Spanish in middle school. It was mandatory since Spanish is the second most popular language in the state. And he said, I'm tired of sounding like a white boy. Yeah, no, I understand. I'm awful at it, but I can roll my R's. That's the one little point of pride. Marsh is joining us. Hello, Marsh. How's it going, buddy? Marsh has a kid on the way, which is very exciting. Congrats again on that. That will be the coolest thing you probably ever do. Not as an insult. That's a compliment. Being a parent is one of the coolest things. Probably the single most coolest experience of my life. The coolest thing I've made, and I barely had anything to do with it. So, anyhow, so let's see here. Let's play a few more tracks off the album. I'm about 9 songs in, so that means there's 1 song left to go till I'm done with this album, which is kind of exciting. So let's see. I think I played I can't remember which one I played last. I think it was about staring out the window, like staring at your pictures of family and stuff, kind of missing being outside and stuff like that. What's up? Okay. Okay, so that's, a pretty clear cut one. It's about selling souls, selling your soul, packaging and selling souls. So yeah, pretty self-explanatory. We're listening to, I think that's the eighth track I've played off. No, the seventh track I've played off of the album that I'm going to be releasing soon. But I still have one song left to do for it, and then masters to kind of do, which Marsh will get because Marsh does music. Masters are important because without masters, it sounds okay, but once it's mastered, it's that's the balance, that's the levels. But anyhow, so these are unmastered raw kind of tracks, and then let's see here. Okay, I'm gonna save. So I have to feed my dogs because my wife is exhausted from working all night on kids' books and stuff like that. She had to pull a pretty long work session to get a book deadline. So I got to go feed my dog, my dogs. So I might be gone for a few minutes. I'll try to play commercials in the meantime. So what we'll do here is, but I will be still streaming, and I'm going to do the last two panels in a second. But I'm going to go feed my dog. So here is, let's play the Jim Lujan trilogy. How about that? Let's start with Wordzoid, and then we'll work our way through them.
Well, Peter, since I'm such a big music fan, I'm going to have to go with Karen Carpenter. Oh, Stu, I'm sorry. That's the incorrect answer. Trish, what you got for us?
I'm going to go with Kim Gordon.
All right, let's check that answer. Kim Gordon. Do we have a Kim Gordon? Yes, and that means you're our new Wordzoid champion, Trish. Dale, tell Trish what she's won. Trish, you've won a copy of 2 stories, a memoir of faith and mental illness. Handwritten, hand-drawn, and handed to you by artist and writer Joshua Kemble. But wait, that's not all. You've also won a copy of Jacob's Apartment, the story of a doomed romance. What happens when you take Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and put it in a blender with Ghost World? You get Jacob's Apartment, written and illustrated by Joshua Kemble. Trish, thank you for playing Wordzoid.
All right, great job, Trish.
I was told I was going to get a lifetime supply of paper towels.
We know that Georgia kids say the craziest thing.
So, little Susie, do you have any brothers or sisters? I understand you're in 3rd grade. How do you like that? Do you like your teacher? You like to do a lot of fun things at school? You got any hobbies, Susie? Any things you like to do when you're not in school? I hear you like to read.
Well, right now I'm reading 2 stories written and illustrated by Joshua Kemble. It grapples with faith and mental illness. It's ultimately a story about redemption. It's a savage piece of writing. Also, I just finished up Jacob's Apartment, another one by Kemble. Jacob's Apartment weaves together elements of spiritualism and relationship dynamics, as well as atheism, and all the while it deals with abandonment and loyalty. It's a fierce read.
Do you like ponies?
Well, thank you, Colleen. I hope your daughter Kelly does well at North Carolina State this year. Well, we got another caller on the line. Elizabeth from Phoenix, Arizona. Elizabeth, what can we do for you? Are you ready to do some shopping, girl?
Oh, yes, Terry. I am ready to do some shopping today. I'm interested in that 2-book set you have. 2 Stories and Jacob's Apartment.
Oh, well, that's a great choice.
In fact, I bought these books before. I gave a set to my grandson, Hunter. These books are amazing.
Well, they sure are, and if you buy both of them, you really get the whole feel of the whole Joshua Kemble universe. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do, Terry. These books are remarkable because, for one, you can take them anywhere. You could put them in your car, and you can go to the park or the river. We've gone to the river. My husband Taylor and I, we just love it. And I murdered my husband at the river. Yeah, I did. But these still are amazing books.
Hi, my name's Chris and I like comics. I want to talk about this comic for a second here. I just got this in. I ordered it direct from my local comic shop through Diamond Distributing. It's Joshua Kemble's Jacob's Apartment. I really enjoyed this book. There's all kinds of comics out there, let's be honest. There's fun comics, there's superhero comics, there's young adult comics, there's adventure comics for kids. There's so many different things under the planet. But there's also an entire subgenre of alternative books. Real life, real world depictions in comic book form. Situations that happen to each and every one of us. And this is a fine example of that. If you get a chance, order this book from your local comic shop. You won't be disappointed. I can't sing its praises high enough. Okay? Check it out. Jacob's Apartment by Joshua Kemble.
Okay, dogs fed. Sorry about the little commercial break there. Let's see. Dylan was saying the silence, it's deafening. Phew. Also, Marsh said, I wish I could get somebody to mix and master my stuff. I really don't know what I'm doing very well with that. Yeah. I'm okay with like the rough mix, but like the masters are really tough. And then Dylan said, the silence is back. What's the silence? Are you not able to hear me? You can't. I hope you can hear. Whew. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, Dylan was saying, I haven't said it in a while, so I'll say it again. You can put them in your car. I think I'm missing something. Oh, Dylan was saying, feed the dogs. They're hungry. Yeah, they're very happy. Like, we got a new kind of dog food recently. Partially because like Scotch, our Chihuahua, is super old, and so he needs like special like old dog food, and it's like this really special like soft food. And both our dogs are like obsessed with it. Like they are so in love with this food. It's hilarious. Like before, you know, they liked food. They've always liked food, but this food in particular, man, they get like crazy about, like obsessive, in a very funny kind of adorable way. Okay, let's play. So we've played 7 of the new tracks. Let's play 9 or 8. And then we'll play 9. And then you guys will have heard the whole second album unmastered, minus one song. Or I should say third album, because I've done like another solo album too. This is about work-related nervous breakdowns. Oh, that's right. You can put them in your car for the for the ad for the comic. Yeah, it is great.
Total breakdown. Don't trust anything they say. They're recording your every move to you someday. Don't trust anything they do. Anything that you say could be used against you. They're watching you. Collapse of my rational faculties. Nervous breakdown from overthinking things. Who do you trust if you can't trust your mind? Stepping ahead just to fall back behind. Push you to the brink, keeping you on the grind. So you have a total breakdown. Put me in an institution for the mind to correct my thinking about the daily grind. Had to sign some papers, sign away my rights.
Oh, Marsh was saying it's pretty warm on the East Coast. What's it like weather-wise where I'm at? Oh my gosh. It's in the hundreds, easy.
Felt the weight of balancing my whole world. Lost my grip as reality unfurled. A total breakdown.
It's been, yeah, crazy hot.
Anything they say, they're recording your every move to you someday. Don't trust anything they do. Anything that you say could be used against you. They're watching you. Collapse of my rational faculties. Nervous breakdown from overthinking things. Who do you trust if you can't trust your mind? Stepping ahead just to fall back behind. Push you to the brink, keeping you on the grind. So you have a total breakdown.
By the way, this is the first song where I've done tapping on bass. So that little bloom, 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 that was tapping. Hold on. So another thing that I wanted to mention about that song. Marsh was saying, sorry to hear you've struggled with these kind of things. I'm glad you keep working on it and getting better with it. I can certainly relate with my own issues. Nice, thanks. Although I will say, for some reasons, I have to state that this is a potentially fictitious album. but it's very inspired by things that happen in real life, some of which might have happened to me. But yeah, it's you know, I don't know. Life is weird. But I will say, one of the cool things is the last year and a half, I haven't been in better health in like my entire life. Like I've been like exercising better. I've been starting to gain muscle like more easily than I used to. I like mentally I'm just in a really good place. And it's weird because like we're not, like my wife and I aren't like in the best like financial position, but we're not in the worst. I don't know. It's like it's weird. It's just, but just mental health wise, I've been really inspired and happy. And I attribute some of that to my faith, for sure. Actually, a bunch of that to my faith. But it's been just like surprising. Like, I don't know. I've been surprised by how much better my life has been in the last year and a half. Especially my mental outlook and my creative output. It's been really cool. And I've been able to see my family more and stuff. Dylan said your muscles are getting swole. I'm never going to get swole. I'm a shrimpy dude. But it's been it's been cool to be like feeling and feeling good and healthier, and mentally healthier too. It's just been like a really cool season or two, which is funny because it kind of runs counter to a lot of the narrative. That's kind of why I got inspired to write this new album, because I'm like, there's this narrative out there for some reason that like money equals happiness, and I'm finding that that's not necessarily true. I mean, obviously we have to meet our core needs and stuff, but it's like, again, like you take, I don't know, it's bizarre, but it's like I'm happier than I've ever been, and I'm making less money than I've made in a long time. Way less money than I've made in a long time. And yet, like, yeah, just my my mental well-being's been a lot better. So there you go, Um and I feel like there is this materialistic narrative sometimes, that I think artists need to fight. Like, it's not bad to make a living. It's good to make a living, but it's like, it shouldn't be your end all be all in life. Shouldn't be to, dude, some of the most miserable people I've ever met are like super wealthy, So, and that's not to say, like, I also know some very happy, wealthy people, but it's like, wealth can't be that can't be the solution. If it is, I don't know. That's depressing. Marsh was saying, I guess these things make us stronger if they didn't kill us. And he said, good stuff. Glad to hear progress. Yeah, it's been, I don't know. It's just been like a crazy. Yeah. And Jake was saying money is nice and all, but it can't buy purpose. Exactly. That's the point. And I think it's been, here's the thing that's happened recently too. Have you guys ever had a time where you just kind of forget who you are? I don't know. I think I forgot who I was for a little bit there. And just remembering, it's like, oh yeah. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like, I think I got bogged down in kind of the grind and just kind of forgot, like, oh yeah, like I like punk rock, and I always hated corporate shit. And like, so it's weird because it's like right now, like, I'm being able to be creative. I'm able to hang out with my family, and we're getting by, I think that's like, that is priceless. Oh, there's this other thing. I've talked about this a bit, but I'll talk about it more because I've been thinking about it a lot. Like, why do people work? Like, what's the goal? Like, beyond, people work obviously to eat, right? That's a huge thing. So obviously you want to keep a roof over your head and eat. And I still have those concerns, like hugely. Like, those are number one, because my family needs to eat. I need to eat, right? We need a place to live and stuff like that. But outside of that, like, what are most people working for? Like, obviously they're working to meet their primary needs, maybe the needs of their family. But then beyond that, what are they trying to do? And a lot of it's like, a lot of guys I know are like working and they're like, I can't wait till I retire because when I retire, I'm going to do all these cool things. Like when I retire, like it's like this perpetual putting off of everything because it's like I'm just going to be a slave for, set amount of time and then finally I'll be free from my slavery, when I hit retirement age or whatever. And it's like, no. Like, and then you ask, like, what are you going to do when you're not, having to be a slave? Basically, what are you going to do then? And a lot of them are like, well, I'm going to travel. I'm going to do creative stuff. I'll finally write that book that I've been putting off. I'll finally, make that quilt or like work on that guitar or record that album. And it's like, I was thinking about this the other day, but it's like, dude, why? Like, why wait for that? Because by the time you get there, you're not like your hands may not even function. While you have moving functional parts, like why not enjoy life to the fullest now? Like, why put it off? Like, tell you what, have accumulated so much wealth that I just don't. I guess I'm just saying I see a lot of people in a waiting room, and I was thinking about that like Fugazi song, like sitting in the waiting room, but like it's like there's a lot of people in a waiting room just kind of like, yeah, and then at some point that's when I'll do my great novel and that's when I'll do my great thing, and it's like no, I can work on this stuff now, and I'm really fortunate to work on this stuff now. And while I'm able to work on it, I should, right? Like I have these guitars that I'm very blessed to have. Why am I not using them and making music? Like I have all the resources to do art. Why wouldn't I be working on graphic novels? And the fact that I'm able to, I think that's really a blessing. And like, that's a huge thing. And like, I think people miss that a lot because they're doing it's like, Marsh, I think it's good you guys are having a kid because like people do that with kids all the time too, where they'll be like, yeah, we'll have kids when we have enough wealth, or we'll have kids when we have, and it just becomes this perpetual putting off having kids till you blink and you're like 40 or 50 and then you can't like, and it's like, there's a point where you just kind of like shit or get off the pot, I guess, like you kind of need to like if you're going to have kids, like you just kind of have kids and then, you got to trust, that like humans have done this forever, humans have had children forever back to like the cave days when like people didn't have guarantees of resources or anything like that. It's just like, and yet we've somehow managed to, perpetuate the human race. So it's like, man, Chris was saying it was a terribly challenging time, but I think the pandemic lockdown shined a lot of light on what people could do with time. And then he said, the trap of comfort is to sustain comfort. Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing that I'm starting to realize is like less comfort is okay if it means my freedom and it means that I can be creative. And I think that I'm not built for a comfortable life. I like a comfortable life. And again, I need to have food and sustenance and stuff like that. But it's like, it's okay to have a different kind of life than, capitalism like basically insists that you're going to have. And capitalism is antithetical to art. Like, I think capitalism I might be one of those weirdos, I'm an old school leftist politically where it's like, I think there should be social systems and stuff like that, but I'm not ever going to be like, oh, capitalism is the root of all evil. It's the root of a lot of evil, but it's like, I don't think that, I personally don't know if there's a better system. But I also think that capitalism and art are always at odds. Like, and I think that's okay. I think that the thing is like capitalism tells you, one thing about human value, and it's broken down to, again, like human capital or something like that. And it's like, we're not just, there are things in life that can't be broken down to monetary value, and artists need to be doing a lot of those things. That's what makes great art, is like, it talks about those things that are beyond, the commercial. And so, like, to me, I am an artist, whether I like it or not. And so it kind of makes sense that just naturally, like, if I'm put in an environment where it's just all commercial, I'm not going to have a soul. I'm not going to feel right with myself, because I don't think we're designed to just be buying and selling things and trading. I don't think that's all we're meant for, and I think half of why we're buying and selling, right, in a purely beautiful system, would be for all those other things that people keep putting off while they're buying and selling. If I just buy enough, I actually know some people like that, where, like, they aren't writing music, they just buy guitars. And it's like, well, why would you, like, I mean, again, no judgment, like, but I can't be okay with that. Like, I like owning guitars. I like buying guitars. One of the funnest things in the world is getting a new guitar, peeling that plastic off of the pick guard. I swear, it's one of my favorite things in the world. I perversely enjoy it. However, the reason I enjoy it is because I'm going to play this thing, and I'll probably use it to, like, make music. And if I'm not using it to make music, like, what a heresy to that guitar, right? How offensive to that beautiful instrument, and to, like, some kid out there who, like, maybe needs a guitar and, like, or needs a musical instrument and is making the best music they can with the tiny scraps that they have to do it, And it's like, meanwhile, there's guys like, blues lawyers and stuff, just like acquiring instruments, and they're not using them. And again, like, no judgment on that. It's just, that's not for me. It's okay if that's how somebody else gets happiness, but I realize, I've never been able to be a blues guitarist. I've just never been. I'm not a blues guitarist, a dentist guitarist, a lawyer, a blues lawyer. I've never been able to do that. Because like, if I have an instrument, I want to play it. And similarly, like, I have these instruments. I have the instruments to do art. Like, why wouldn't I be making art? Because again, like, that's just like, man, that waiting room mentality of, like, people being like, oh, I'll do this when. No, you're going to do it or you're not. And like, if you're at the point where you need to, like, do whatever to eat, cool, do that. Like, like, obviously you need to eat, you need clothes, you need a place to live. And there's nothing wrong with, like, providing for those things, especially for your kids or your family. But beyond that, like, what are people doing? Like, just making time to, like, make time to eventually do the thing. And it's like, you don't have to wait. You can start now and live a good life. And I guarantee, like, if people are on their deathbed and they've just been, like, waiting and waiting and waiting, it's like, they're probably going to have a moment of thinking, like, what was I waiting for? Like, it's like, yeah. And I'm not saying it has to be, like, creative activities. I'm just saying, like, people do this all the time to rationalize. And by people, I also mean me. I've done this before. But it's like, people will do this to rationalize, like, oh, when I finally get this, then I'll be a nice person. Then I'll start being kind to people. Or like, when I finally end up in this scenario, then I'll start working out. Or when I finally end up here, then I'll start. And it's like, no, like, just, like, now is a good time. Now is a really good time. There's never been a better time than now to start living like you want to. unless what you want to do is just buy stuff. And then in that case, if that's all you really want to do in life, then yeah, you're gonna have to just like slave away and find like a hustle that's gonna make a lot of money and probably drop some ethics along the way. And that's okay. Like, again, no judgments. Maybe somebody just wants to buy stuff. But when you want to buy stuff, you got to buckle down and work, right? To get the funds to buy stuff. But like, is that it? Is that all we're here for? Is just to like consume things? Like, I feel like and by the way, if you're somebody who's just watching and you like consuming content, you don't feel the obligation to create things. Cool. Like, that is a good life. Like, just relax. But I'm a creative, so I can't just be content buying stuff. I can't just be content with owning the tools and not using them, Jake was saying better to have regretful moments than a regretful life. And then Dylan was saying, I have my mom's disease called scopholic, so I'm trying to find a balance between what is need versus what is want. And then Marsh was talking about loving buying new synth models. But that's the thing that I like about you, Marsh, is you're not just collecting them, you're using them. Like, you're constantly making stuff with them. It's almost the struggle for a creative, I think, should be like, man, I need to eat. And so I'm going to have to put my guitar down for a minute. Or, oh, crap, I got to, pay the mortgage, so I'm gonna have to, or the rent or whatever, so I'm gonna have to pause my graphic novel for a minute. It shouldn't be the other. The other is just so wrong for creatives. I think the other is just wrong, and by the other I mean like being in a position where you're like, man, it sucks that I have to stop the stuff that's bill paying stuff to do this thing that, it's like, no, it shouldn't be that. It should be the opposite. It should be like, man, I would play with these synthesizers for 50 years if I could just do that and like have food like that. That's fun. Similarly, like I could just write comics or like if I have the wherewithal, I'll just make 1,000 songs because it's fun to compose songs and write them. And then the struggle is I have to work that in, but also balance the rest of my life. That's the creative struggle, I think. At least for me, that's what I think the creative struggle is like more of like, how can I maintain being a creative person and not like completely get lost in the creativity to where I lose the plot of everything else. That to me is the struggle a creative should be dealing with. And if you end up in the opposite end where you're struggling to be creative, then, that's, and you've met those basic needs, then like reassess, cause like, yeah, I think creatives are just naturally like, if you put a pencil and a piece of paper in a room with creatives who have nothing to do, they're going to make stuff. It's just what we do. We're not the kid who just fell asleep in class when it was, boring. We're the kid that like when there was free time in a classroom and you had, a piece of paper in the room, you're like making something. It's just the instinct is to go to make. And that's just, if you're not following that as a creative, this is my conviction. But at least for myself, if I don't follow that, that muse, that paper when there's nothing to do, the guitar in the corner that I need to pick up and I don't even know how to play, but I'm gonna figure out how to play it because like I want to make something with it. Like that kind of mentality, I think it just has to be there. For me to be happy. And also I accept that it's not all about happiness. I don't think life is about happiness. I don't think that's the end goal either. But I like making stuff. I feel compelled to make stuff. And if I don't make stuff, I just don't I'm not a good person. I'm not a functional person. So yeah. Dylan said boating, hiking, playing a sport, read more, travel, etc. are all non-art things a person can do if they aren't into art. Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong if you're a non-creative too. That's fine. That's fine. I'm fine with I guess I've just started coming more to terms with and started accepting more that I am just not a normal person. I am a creative, and that's just what I am. And it's like I can't do the like I could totally do a day job to meet the needs. That no problem. If it's substituting, if it's teaching, whatever, I can do that, and I can do it really well and care about it and be passionate about it. But what I can't do is I cannot afford to sell my soul or my ethical barometer of like what is just and correct. I can't do that. I can't sell that part of myself. It's just not worth any amount of money. Nor can I sell my creative soul. Like I need to actually keep that intact and working and functioning. And that's a core value of mine is like I need to be in a scenario where I can still value human beings, where I can still contribute, and where I can be creative. And I also need to be making stuff. Chris said a comic making Josh is the optimal version in the multiverse. Yeah. But you know what I mean? I just feel like yeah, it's not worth the no amount of money in the world is worth, massive time away from family, or a drain of like creative output for an artist. Like it's just no amount of money is worth that. And I forgot that for a little bit. And so I think that's why I've been happier recently. Is like I think I got lost in the chase for and keep in mind I have never really had a time in my life where I haven't been working on comics in the last like 20 years. I've been consistently working on creative pursuits and stuff like that, but I think I lost myself in a financial pursuit for a little bit there. Because it's just very alluring and comfortable, but it's not. It can't be who I am. I can't let that become, because then you forget yourself, and like and if you don't have yourself or your own identity, it's like what do you become? I don't know if that makes sense, but anyhow, that's how I feel about it. As vaguely, I would get into more specifics, but there are certain things I don't want to get specifically too into, But yeah, yeah. Marsh was saying couldn't agree more on the compelled to create stuff, and I think that's the thing. Like you get rewarded, with by serving that by basically allowing yourself to be creative. And again, this is a conversation for people who are, like I am fortunate in my life right now because like even though things are financially tight or whatever, I am not starving, like we're not in need of those like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like our first hierarchy is met. It's it's a little tight, but it's being met. And it's like that enables me to think about a more creative life, right? Because if you're so concerned in those like first level things, like obviously that's going to be your priority, like, and there's no judgment on that. But once you have those things met, don't let those things fool you into thinking that that's what everything's about, because it's not. It's not. And the pursuit of those things beyond just meeting those needs, those initial needs, I think is a fruitless pursuit for creatives. So anyhow, that's my thought on it. I don't know, I want to share more stuff. I almost want to share like the the album that I just released. I feel like I should play some tracks from that, but you guys let me know in chat. I mean, I've shared some music already, so if it's too much and you guys don't want to hear more, that's fine, because we can just kind of hang out and chat. And I'm okay with that. I know that we've been going for almost 2 hours. I can tell because my internal clock is like an hour in. Every time it's about an hour, that's when I need to get like water and a refill of coffee or whatever it is. But my body starts saying like, dude, you've been sitting for an hour. I think it's also just your body saying like, dude, you got to stand up and stretch for a second, Anyhow, so I will be taking a brief break in a second. But in the meantime, Jake was saying, I've been enjoying this. I'm even drawing now. That's great. Yeah, and that's another thing I've been remembering is that, like, as much as this stuff is work, it's really fun. Like, it's fun. Like, I love doing art and I love doing music. It's like, I really enjoy it. Even the tedious part of the process, There are definitely parts of the process that I hate. I definitely feel like sometimes creative life can be more of a curse than a blessing. Because again, I do wonder sometimes, like, what is it like for people who aren't compelled to do this stuff? That's the thing. I don't know. It's got to be weird to be like able to just turn it off and be like, yeah, I'm cool with just, buying stuff. Yeah, that's I don't know. Like, I guess for people like that can be a really interesting life. But to me, that's super like antithetical to my soul, my core. Dylan was saying I have the same question. Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like, who is prescribing lives? Who is prescribing that you can't prioritize being creative, or that creativity has no value, or that, like, where are those voices coming from? And most of that's going to be coming from capitalism. Like, there's a capitalistic value of art, but like, it's not high value in pure capitalism. It's just not. But that's the great thing about art, is art can have capitalistic value, but it frustrates capitalists because it's not like a tangible good. It's an abstraction. It's a philosophy. And it's a philosophy that can materialize in something real, but it's like, and substantial, but it's like it's antithetical. And I think that's something I'm starting to embrace more and more, is that, yeah, just that whole other kind of thing I don't think is for me. Yeah, Marsh was saying, I think everybody's compelled to create somehow. It just may not have to do with what we consider art. And Dylan was saying it's not something on a conveyor belt. Yeah. And it can turn into something on a conveyor belt, right? But it's like, it's baffling to people who all they think of are things on conveyor belts. It's antithetical to capitalism. I think I'm going to end up color holding the sky too. So that probably will end up being like a red or like a, because I might do like the yellow sky again. Okay. We need to break for, we're on a break. We need to take a break. I'll be right back in a few minutes, in a minute or so. I'm going to get some liquid in my system. And if you guys haven't yet, hit that like button. I'm going to press play on, you know what? We'll, let's see. I've played almost all my trailers this time. So let's do our Philip Chandler. Yeah, here's Philip Chandler's trailer.
Hi, my name is Phil Chandler. I'm a freelance artist, illustrator, and cartoonist. Today, though, however, I want to tell you about a graphic novel I picked up recently called Jacob's Apartment. This book was both written and beautifully illustrated by Joshua Kemble. It is the story of a doomed romance that causes the main character to question his beliefs and his faith, while he's also going through other tragedies in his life. Every page has been illustrated by hand and digitally colored with painstaking detail. It is an emotional story that causes you to think and even question things in your own life. And while the story is a tragedy, it is one that I was completely entertained by and I highly recommend. You can currently find this on Amazon or even check in with your local bookstore and see if you can order it. And while you're at it, you can also check out my Instagram at Phil Chandler Arts and also my YouTube channel by the same name, Phil Chandler Arts. And go buy Jacob's Apartment.
All right. Bell bottoms. Okay, so we're gonna do the last panel on this page. We're gonna shade and then probably break for lunch. Also, Artcasters is tonight on Scott's channel. And I think what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna run through some of the songs on the solo album. Let me pull it up here. Let's see here. Just so I have the track list. Can remember the names of the songs. Okay. So there we go. I've got the track list pulled up. And this first one, this is from the album called They Don't Care About the Born. This first one is about proxy wars and the history of kind of getting into really bad proxy wars as a country. To explain to, like, I know most people know what a proxy war is, but a proxy war is like where a larger government organization, a government of a not an organization, government will generally like fight wars with a larger, like, of superpowers, generally like big powerful countries will fight with each other using proxies. So a proxy is like a representative of yourself. In this case, it would be smaller countries that you're funding to fight each other in a military exercise rather than having a full-scale war. And so it's fighting wars by proxy. And this is called proxy wars. And it starts with like Reagan and then talks about current times as well. But it's mostly about like Iran-Contra and then kind of juxtaposing that with the war machine making profit off of current wars that are happening now. So that is Proxy Wars. This is off the album They Don't Care About the Born that I just released 2 weeks ago. And this is, I believe, the fully mastered track. So let's listen to it.
The side over. Ring around the proxy war, pockets of posy. Posing his friend while pretending it's rosy. I remember reading on the crisis in Cuba. Nixon's evade nearly caused a world war then. Funded the Contras to fight Sandinistas. 10 years later, Contras fought to defeat us. They've got the power to keep the wheel moving with the cause of the grooves. They've got an interest to keep the people passive while they're making their moves. Keep consuming, keep collecting, keep digesting what they're feeding. Keep passive and keep quiet. The last thing people should do is riot. They know that it's wrong, but maintain the illusion that everything's clear-cut and has a solution. An old white man in a red tie and suit who promises strength and colludes with the Russian, blaming the poor while he sent them to war. But isn't that just what a proxy war's for? Then Russia invades their good neighbor Ukraine while we hold back the funds to get dirt on arrival. 1 year later, we will make a good profit, selling bombs to Ukraine while we collect intel. They've got the power to keep the wheel moving with the cause of the grooves. They've got an interest to keep the people passive while they're making their moves. Keep consuming, keep collecting, keep digesting what they're feeding. Keep passive and keep quiet. The last thing people should do is riot. Keep passive and keep quiet. One last thing, people should riot.
So yeah, that's about, like the interest of governments. Jim was saying, thump, 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 thump. Keep it down there. We work in the morning. I know. Well, hopefully, if you're listening to this, you're wearing some headphones or something. But yeah, so like, to me, like that's basically about the interests of big government, or like, I guess I should be careful saying big, because I actually make jokes about that all the time. All conspiracy theories usually revolve. You can tell something is a conspiracy theory when people start using the term big, like big tech, big pharma, big brother, big whatever. It's always big something. And it's partially just a mask for basically not being able to define what the enemy is, because in reality, a lot of it's conspiratorial. Not to cast aside some of that stuff. Jake said big balls. You got some big balls there. But basically, like the thing that was basically talking about was, like Iran-Contra, like before Iran-Contra, you had, basically like the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? Where, we came within like a hair's width as a country of like going to total nuclear war. It like a hair width away, and like one button push away from just completely annihilating the entire world. Over like posturing and like this whole like kind of detente falling by the wayside and becoming this kind of escalation. But the thing that I wanted to highlight in that song is like talking about how there's also profit to be made for, industry, at the cost of the destruction of the whole world. And how kind of the main interest for that profit that can be made in those scenarios is for people to keep passive and quiet and don't make a fuss, don't make a scene, like there's nothing to see here. Keep buying stuff, keep collecting stuff. It's kind of like a hat trick, and it's like to me, that is that's the epitome of or the antithesis of art. Is I think art doesn't have to be full of protest or anything like that, but art is actively fighting consumption, because you're not consuming, and I think that's I don't know where that goes, but that's kind of what that song was about. Jake was saying Josh ought to watch his neck so it won't be elongated by big guitar. But yeah, so the whole point of that is like the interests of war and systems that are going to corrupt and ruin people is passivity and quietness and keeping your head down. And artists are not being passive or quiet. That's kind of the thing, whether you're being political in what you're doing or not. Like, we're not a passive, quiet bunch. We're making stuff. We're going to be saying things about things. We're, this sounds so pretentious, but it's like something I've been thinking about a lot lately. It's like we're documenting the world as it is. So if that art is making journalism, like a journalist to me is an artist, right? They're a writer, and a good journalist is shining a light on stuff that big powers and people in power don't want you to see or know. They're not going to be always pushing the narrative of what people want to hear. And similarly, like, artists are going to touch on things like a good comedian, right, is going to be riffing on things that like maybe other people aren't talking about, but it's really funny. Like, a lot of comedy is saying the thing that everybody's thought, right? But like no one will say. And it doesn't mean everything's inappropriate. It's just looking at things, commenting on them, and kind of and blending that observation, that artist's eye, that comedian's eye, the comedian's ears, whatever they're hearing, that's funny about life, that kind of in turn can take the piss out of like a really serious scenario. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, a good comedian is kind of the court jester that makes fun of the king, that like no one else has the guts to make fun of the king, but the jester can do it, right? Jim was saying Josh is always controlled by Big Firefly. Those guitar companies are ruthless. I would totally take a sponsorship from Firefly, man. That I love that company. I am so in love with their guitars until I get a bad one. I've only got 2, but I gotta say, like, 2 out of 2 is pretty good odds for like excellent guitars that play way above the value of what they cost. But yeah, so the point being, like, artists are not, we're kind of rebels. Like, even if we're like, in normie costumes sometimes, it's just the art, the act of making stuff is an act of rebellion. So I against a system that wants you to just consume, keep quiet, keep passive, don't comment, don't make a fuss, don't make a scene, nothing to see here. That's just not really art talk, that stuff. So yeah, anyhow. Yeah, and it may sound pretentious, but hell, you know what? Let's get a little pretentious, okay? Okay, let's get pretentious here, okay? Yeah, so that's what that song was about. Let's listen to the next song. Dylan said, "I filled one trash bag." Nice. That's a lot of trash. All right. Let's listen to the next song, which is about posers. Wait, do I have that song? Yes, I do. This song is about posers. This song is about people who get all worked up about whatever the cool hip new thing is, like, and their politics are a trend as well. Everything's kind of based on whatever is going to get the best social response, and not about sincerity or authenticity. And so that's what this song's about. Like Instagram food posts, and also the right next to the Instagram food post is like the trending political take or trending hot take. Like they make hot takes as long as they're trendy, but the second it's like not in vogue, like they change like the wind.
You pose, pretend, a facet of the lens, all bluster and pretense. On paper you're a concert ally. You rose again, a second coming tense, to look good to your friends. You post the best defense that fashionably trends. You post all of the best things to buy. You change like wind. You make and then rescind statements so in vogue, how all the cool kids vote. You're so concerned to note how poorly other folks have done to change the notes playing out loud. I think you're fake, constantly a fake, a hypocrite who takes. You fight when there's no stakes. A pop culture vulture, a mindless consumer. No love with me, just a cold-hearted user. Cool little poser, won't you pose again? Eat some trendy food, take a picture with your friends. Got some new glasses, aren't these in vogue? Pretend that you're concerned about the people on the ropes. Cool little poser with your prim and proper friends. Take a selfie at the rally to use as your defense. Concerned about whatever all the cool kids care about. As long as you can shout it, sitting back upon your couch. You grew up rich, the codes you try to switch. Entitled little kid, pretend you had it bad. A spoiled child who never suffered. You think you're right each and every time. You always blur the line. You're changing all the time. I wish you'd grow a spine. Pretend everything is fine. Strong opinions unopposed, tilting at your very own. Custom made and some opposition, straw man and windmills. A pop culture vulture. I think you're fake, constantly a flake, a hypocrite who takes. You fight when there's there's no stakes. A pop culture vulture, a mindless consumer. No love within, just a cold-hearted user. You're a cold-hearted poser, poser. You're a cold-hearted poser. You're a cold-hearted poser, poser. You're a cold-hearted poser. A pop culture vulture, a mindless consumer. You're a cold-hearted poser. You're a cold-hearted poser. Cool little poser, won't you pose again? Eat some trendy food, take a picture with your friends. Got some new glasses, aren't these in vogue? Pretend that you're concerned about the people on the ropes. Cool little poser with your prim and proper friends. Take a selfie at the rally to use as your defense. Concerned about whatever all the cool kids care about. As long as you can shout it, sitting back upon your couch. You're a cold-hearted poser, poser. A mindless consumer. A cold-hearted poser, poser. A cold-hearted consumer. A cold-hearted poser, poser.
All right, so that was a cold-hearted poser. Dylan said, "Pop culture vulture, chef's kiss." Yeah, that's one of those things that it's like always annoys me. Is I love people who are passionate about things, like in general. Like I just think that's great. And you'll notice this, like if you when you go to school or whatever, your best teachers are generally going to be kind of passionate about their subject. Like it just makes it fun. It makes it really interesting to hear. I've had conversations with people who are like dentists and are passionate about teeth, and those are interesting conversations. It's like people who are passionate about something, or they're like fans of something, like the real fans. I think that makes for a real fun, amazing kind of scenario. But there's nothing worse to me. Well, there's things that are bad, but one of my pet peeves is people who pretend to be fans of something or pretend to be into something that they're not. Like, and they're just doing it as a fashion statement. That to me annoys me. I've always been I've always been a little suspicious of that. Like people buy clothes not because they like the clothes or how they look, but they want the the label on the clothes, and are really concerned about like, oh man, I gotta wear this because it's Nike, as opposed to I really love even if they just sincerely like Nike. I think that's better than that like weird pariah. I don't know. I can't even explain. It's hard to put into words that kind of person, but it's a very common thing in this age of social media to have people who are just everything they do is about what's trending, what'll get the most clicks, what political thing they can say that's in favor, and what clothes they can wear because they're like the clothes that are cool, what food they can eat that's like fashionable. And it's not like a hipster thing because like there's, I know a lot of hipsters or people who might be called hipsters, but it's like it's about the real just like chasing clout. That's basically it. Jake was saying that. Like that's a good explanation. Clout sharks. That just annoys the hell out of me. So I just decided to write a song about it. And generally, if you've known people like that, what's irritating about them is that they're very cold-hearted. Like they tend to not actually care about anything they're saying. And that's the part that's disturbing. It's like they don't even care. Like they'll say a political take and they have no care or interest or reason other than it just being the cool thing. And that to me is just, it can get, I mean, it can get irritating. And here's the thing too, is like, there's nothing wrong with liking something that's trendy. Like that's fine. If something's popular and you really enjoy it. I mean, I don't get a lot of time to watch TV, but the last thing I watched that I got seriously into was Andor, that whole series. And I think that's some of the best like Star Wars that's ever been made. It's just an incredible TV show. And it was super trendy at the time and I liked it, but I sincerely liked it. So I don't know. I don't think it's wrong to like things that are popular or wrong to like maybe even comment on something that's trending or anything like that. But it's just the sincerity that that's missing. That's a tough one to deal with with people who are missing sincerity. And it's just, like Jake was saying, like chasing clout or something like that. Boop, boop, boo, boop, 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 boo. So that was what that song was about. How's it going, guys? How is your day? Dylan said, I never cared for trends and I hope to remain that way. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that. Thanks for not caring for trends. Okay. We're going to get through this page. I'm starting to feel exhausted, guys. I've been working weird hours, Jake was saying drawing a catfish being shoved into a Hawaiian wood chipper. Jake, you've been missed, man. I haven't seen you in a couple streams, so it's fun to have you on. You're a very funny fellow. All right, here's number 3. Song number 3 is Surgery. So this song is about so I've noticed this in my my faith that that I will often be thrown into or feel like I'm being thrown into an impossible to deal with situation, and it'll just kind of put you through like a grinder. It's like like Jake was saying, being thrown into a meat grinder. And then coming out and realizing that I'm better for it and like stronger for it. And that somehow I've been able to be refined through that process. And it usually strengthens my faith in God. And so this song is about like the idea of the process of surgery being like a really rough experience, but it's like necessary for getting better or improving. And so that's what this song is about. It's called Surgery. And so I'll play that. Nice. Let's see here. Dylan said there was a pillar of the community I'm in, and she recently changed beliefs. Someone made a response video without asking the woman. He basically said that she was a poser, and he said she went live yesterday to clear up the issue. So the poser thing is fresh to me. And he said, they said, I believe the guy is in the wrong. He started drama, and in my opinion, forced her to come out to speak on it. Yeah, I think. I don't know. I mean, what can I say? But I feel like, especially in a community, I don't think it's good to like just put somebody on blast and force them to respond. You know, and again, I don't know the community or anything like that, but I also think you have to be really careful with people's beliefs or like why they believe what they believe, because every human being generally has some sort of reason for arriving at a belief. And even if that belief is wildly wrong or crazy or anything like that, it's like, I think you need to I think people should tread carefully with that kind of thing, because again, it's generally going to have there's going to be a story behind it, you know, and a meaning behind it. But I would say, you know, the only time I would think somebody being of a certain belief is part of a trend would be if their belief changes all the time. Like if you know, tomorrow I were to look on Twitter and it was like Hinduism's trending and they're a Hindu suddenly, and then the next week, you know, Buddhism is trending, so they're like, wow, I'm a Buddhist now, and the next week, you know what I mean? Like, and they're just kind of switching all the time. That to me would be a sign of a poser. And maybe, you know, the fifth time that happens, it might be worth calling the person out on it. But in general, I think like people in life can change opinions. And I don't think changing opinions is always the sign of somebody being a poser or a fake. I think some of that is actually somebody being an adult. Because I think that generally, like, you know, the more you gain wisdom, the more you will change your opinions, and your viewpoints will shift, and you're going to see the nuances in things, and things will be less and less black and white. And so, you know, I think the simplest way to understand the world is in black and white, you know, and we see the world that way as children. But as we mature and get older and stuff, you start seeing the complexities of things. You start even seeing how, you know, like something that inherently sounds like a good decision, you know, or a decision made with the best intentions, can lead to horrific things. Like you start to see the nuances of people solving problems. And then those solutions to the problems end up becoming a problem on their own. And so it's like, even things done for good can work out really badly. Things get gray the more you kind of acquire knowledge, I think. And so with that in mind, I think that a change of mind is actually a real sign of maturity. However, I think constantly changing your mind, that might be a sign of immaturity. You know what I mean? Like if you're constantly fluctuating. But I think the ability to have your mind changed is almost like fundamental to knowledge, right? Because if I go into a situation trying to learn something, but I'm closed off to any sort of possibility of what the truth reveals, then I think that that's where you end up being in a place of ignorance. Yeah. What was it? Dylan said, this man said he was responding from religious trauma, so he was reacting out of hurt, betrayal, and emotions. Yeah, I can understand that. Jake said, if a combat medic revolts from operating, would that be an insurgery instead of an insurgency? Oh, that was good. That was really good. That's very funny. All right, guys, I need to play another trailer, and then we're gonna finish this page. But I am on my last bit of steam before I need to eat lunch um and stuff. So what we're gonna do is we'll play the trailer for Jacob's Apartment from its original release. So you'll notice it says I think 2022. We're not in 2022, but this is the original trailer. And then we'll finish the page. And if you guys haven't yet, hit that like button. Make sure you click like, smash like. I think that's what people say now. Smash it, but don't smash it too hard. I don't want you to break your keyboard or your phone, right? Hit like. And then aside from that, make sure you're subscribed and you've hit the bell so you get notifications when we're about to go live. And also check out my album. They don't care about the born. Like it on whatever music platform you listen to music on. If you're on Spotify, make sure you're following Joshua Kemble on there. And also, buy my books. Think about buying my books. All right, here is Jacob's Apartment, and I'll be right back.
Speak clearly, it seems that only in dreams can we these things we've seen and walk around breathing I don't know the part to play in this heart of mine. There's dissonant things, they split at the seams.
So what's weird is I haven't played that trailer in a while, and what comes to mind when I play it is when I first edited that trailer and pressed play. It was this is going to sound corny. I'm going to get a little cheesy here. It was a very meaningful moment for me because that book almost didn't happen. Jacob's Apartment was a graphic novel that I had done. I had spent, it was my first graphic novel that I ever finished. And it was full color. It was really ambitious, and it took way longer than I initially thought it would, like all graphic novels tend to. And so I put in about 5 or 6 years of work on this thing, and I had a publisher initially for it. Because I had gotten the Zarek grant from this comic that I did called Numb. And so I was really excited because I was like, I was new to comics. I had just gotten this really cool grant. And then, I was starting Jacob's Apartment, and I actually got an offer, a publishing deal for Jacob's Apartment. Like a publisher reached out to me and was like, hey, I liked Numb. Do you have anything longer that you'd want to show us? And I showed them the few pages that I had done for Jacob's Apartment, and they immediately gave me a contract, a book contract for it. So I proceeded for the next few years to work hard on this book. And it was when I finished literally the last page that the publisher pretty much informed me, yeah, we're not actually going to publish this anymore. And it was bizarre. It was a very heartbreaking moment of like, I had, because if you guys have ever gone through making a graphic novel, it's no small undertaking. It's a lot of investment of time and energy. And keep in mind, it was my first graphic novel. So the whole time doing it, like now, when I work on books, it's not as much of a head game as that first one was. Like Jacob's Apartment was a burdensome book to make because the whole time I was making it, I'm like not hanging out with friends and sacrificing weekends and like just putting a lot of time and effort and into this thing, because I really believed in the story, but then also having all that self-doubt. And at the time, not knowing as many creatives as I do now. So I just like constantly was like plagued with, is this even good? Is this a waste of time? Is this useless? Like, all those like early, questions that I luckily don't get plagued with as much as I did then. And then also just kind of like realizing that I'm a lot slower of an artist than I'd like to be. Like it was taking way longer. All the realizations that happen when you take on something like a big art project like that. And also I hadn't really worked out my workflow. So I had to kind of work that out and figure out how to do this thing, how to do this whole comics thing, and at the same time, I'm figuring it out to do it well. And then to have that kind of collapse, when I had just finished it, was like a real crippling experience. And I remember it was right after, so this is a while ago. Okay. But I had finished it like right after the recession, and it was right when the recession hit. And so not only was I dealing with that, but I was also dealing with all the stuff I wrote about in 2 stories. So I was dealing with all sorts of just failure and the feeling of complete failure. A lot of things collapsing, and then my publishing deal that was kind of like, for years, it was kind of like well, at least I have this. And then that was taken away. And so I remember when I finished that book, I ended up going back to graduate school to kind of pursue, getting better at this thing. And also, potentially opening up avenues for teaching and moving back to California because I was in Portland during a lot of the creation of that. And it was like, it was a head game to get back to making a graphic novel. And then I finally resigned myself to, well, publisher or not, I'm just going to make another book and I'm going to make the best one I can. And then we'll see what happens. And I just shelved Jacob's Apartment and went on to make 2 stories. And in the process of making 2 stories, again, that took quite a few years. And then the nice thing was when I was looking for publishers for that, I lucked out in the sense that I had a writer's rep, a literary agent who was down to represent me and got me a deal to get 2 stories published. But then the nice thing was Graphic Mundi was interested in my stuff and wanted to know if I had anything to pitch. And so that's where I was like, well, I do have a book that's finished. It's entirely finished. And so Graphic Mundi actually did a deal and wanted to publish it. And so there were a few edits that, they just made it a million times better because it was always missing a thing. And then Kendra, the editor at Graphic Mundi, was like just amazing and suggested this motif of like a bee that would, kind of fly throughout the story. And it finally saw the light of day. And that was very meaningful to me for multiple reasons because a lot of Jacob's Apartment was dealing with my father's death, which really shook me up in my early 20s. I was really torn apart about that. And so I grappled with that in that book. And I poured a lot of my soul into that book, Jacob's Apartment. And so it was, anyhow. So I remember the reality of that, all of that, what I just told you guys, hadn't really hit. I was just kind of in work mode because I had just finished 2 stories and I had been doing, interviews and stuff like that to try to promote 2 stories and just really busy. And then I was getting all the pages ready and doing the edits for Jacob's Apartment. And meanwhile, also working on the pitch for this book that I'm currently working on. And so it was like, I didn't really have time to soak in the significance that this book that I had thought just was like dead in the water, had a second life and people could actually read it and it would get published, and not only published, but published beautifully, which they did. But it was when I put together that trailer, and I think my sister-in-law was watching it, and I think all of us got really choked up. My wife, my sister-in-law, and I, when I cut that trailer, because it was like the reality of the meaningful, powerful fact that like this thing, this piece of art was finally gonna see the light of day, and that it wasn't a waste. Like it wasn't a waste. It wasn't a waste of time. That it would actually see, readers and stuff like that. And it was just a really beautiful moment. So anyhow, it's funny. I don't know if I've talked about that on stream, but yeah, it was like when I first cut that trailer, yeah, I think there was something about it when I first pressed play on it. We were all looking at it that, it all kind of hit, and was very meaningful. And also like really reinvigorated, I've talked about this with like Jim Lujan and Scott Cirkland and, a lot of my creative friends, but, that whole process of that seeing the light of day really reinvigorated this idea that as an artist, your job is just kind of to make the best thing you can in an act of faith that it will have significance. And then every once in a while, like you get rewarded for it. And then, things that you may have not even known were going to happen, will kind of happen. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, that was a real meaningful moment for me. The fact that there was finally a publisher that was willing to take a chance on it. 'Cause it's not an easy sell book. It's a slice of life. It's a quiet story. It's a story that deals with kind of like faith and young love and loss and deals directly with death, and losing a family member and stuff like that. These aren't topics that are like that publishers are like vying to like, they're not like competing to get to quote rates on these things. It's not Dogman or Captain Underpants or something that's like going to just fly off the shelves. It's a hard sell. So the idea that there was a publisher like Graphic Mundi who was willing to take risks like that, and not only that they're like a publisher that puts out really beautiful books and stuff, was very meaningful, and yeah. So anyhow, that was something that just came to mind while working on this. It was just a really nice moment. And, and that was a fun time because, this book that I'm currently in knee deep in, this deal came out of that era as well. And a lot of that was just like from work that I put in blindly, in faith that at some point, it's going to have significance or meaning, or like a purpose or something. So anyhow, that's a little side story, but I thought that would be kind of cool to mention since it came to mind. I can be kind of sentimental and corny sometimes. It's part of my personality. You guys, we're almost there. We're almost done with the shading on this page, which means I'll get to eat lunch soon, which is pretty cool. But I have set that as like a parameter where I'm like, I'm not going to eat lunch until I finish this part of the page. Let's go ahead and play another song. What have I played so far? Oh, let's play my data harvesting song. So this song is about data harvesting and how, basically our data is being harvested on the internet and sold to the highest bidder. And then that data is being used to manipulate how we behave. So that's what this song is about. And this is off of They Don't Care About the Born, the album I released 2 weeks ago. So here is that track.
Your brain is malleable. They want to force confession, insist on various ways to get the evidence. While all around you it seems they gather information without a second thought to what they gather. Harvesting our information, recording everything we buy, selling all our information to the highest bidder. Harvesting our information, recording everything we like, selling all our information till the sales in winter.
Definitely inspired by Corey. Yeah, for sure.
Questioning what matters, harvesting our information, recording everything we buy, selling all our information to the highest bidder. Harvesting our information, recording everything we like, selling all our information till the sales in winter. Harvesting our information, recording everything we buy, selling all our information to the highest bidder. Harvesting our information, recording everything we like, selling all our information till the sales in winter. Your brain is malleable.
All right, so that was data harvesting off of They Don't Care About the Born, my solo album. Jake is like, oh no, way inspired by Corey's rants on technology. It totally was. And also just the idea of people engineering things to get you doom scrolling, and questioning what matters. So yeah, that's data harvesting. But I will tell you, I did share that with Corey right after I recorded it because I was like, Corey, this song is for you, my dude. It was definitely I was definitely thinking about Corey when I did that song. Let's see here. Select, modify, expand. Oh, he said the Wii U guitar reminds me of the theme song for 331 Penguins in the early 2000s cartoon. I don't even know what that is, but I'll have to look that up. That sounds amazing. It was called 321 Penguins. That sounds lovely. It sounds like a great cartoon. Was that a cartoon in the States? Okay, let's see here. Cool. Okay, now we have we're basically ready to kind of call it, but I need to fix up this edge just a little bit. I gotta say, Photoshop, dude, the shortcuts are just like sticky and weird. And it's not my keyboard. It's just like the last few updates where you hit B to go to the brush tool. It just like keeps bouncing back. It doesn't want to go to brush. It's really weird. It's been doing that for like half a year now. It's very annoying. Anyhow, I don't know if you guys have noticed that the brush tool shortcut having like a stickiness to it where it doesn't want to do that. Okay. Or maybe that's just me. Maybe it is something I'm doing. Ooh, I was using the wrong black here. So I'm going to make sure this is the right black because I want this to be my rich black. And I'm going to select all. And then we're going to go ahead and make sure all of this is set to multiply. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. You guys, we finished it. We finished it. Well, we didn't finish it. We finished this part of it. So I'm going to be coloring this probably when I come back on. I know I definitely will be working on finishing this up during probably Artcasters tonight. Thanks you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. It's always fun to have people to hang out with and share art with and share the passion that we have for art together as a unit. So anyhow, thanks. And if you haven't yet, hit like and subscribe and the bell and all that fun stuff. Make sure you check out They Don't Care About the Born, my album that's out. And then also, if you can, also make sure you've picked up 2 Stories or Jacob's Apartment. They're very meaningful books to me, and I think you will find them to be very good, meaningful, deep stories, I think. All right. With that being said, I will see you guys on the next live stream or on Artcasters if I'm not able to live stream before that. Which will be on Scott Cirkland's channel. So make sure you're subscribed to Cirkworks as well. And I will see you guys on the next one. Goodbye. Bye, chat. Thanks for hanging out, too. Okay, bye.